at Wimbledon. This week we mark the 21st anniversary of the Srebrenica genocide. It's one of the few political causes that the Prime Minister and I both wholeheartedly support, and I hope he will be impressing on his successor the importance of supporting the Remembering Srebrenica organisation and all of the good work that it does across the UK. Notwithstanding our differences, I genuinely extend my best personal wishes to the Prime Minister and to his family. I wish them all the best. However, the Prime Minister's legacy will undoubtedly be that he has taken us to the brink of being taken out of the European Union, so we will not be applauding his premiership on these benches. What advice has he given his successor on taking Scotland out of the EU against the wishes of Scottish voters?
Well, first of all, let me join the right honourable gentleman in paying tribute to all those who lost their lives in Srebrenica and making sure that we commemorate this event properly every year. This year there will be a service in the Foreign Office where commemoration will be given, where testimony will be read out, and we should think of it alongside the terrible events of modern history, such as the Holocaust, and think about it in that way. It also, I think, reminds us, as we often debate in this House, there's a price for intervention, but there's also sometimes a price from non-intervention, and we should remember that. In terms of what he says about Scotland and the United Kingdom and Europe, my advice to my successor, who is a brilliant negotiator, is that we should try to be as close to the European Union as we can be for the benefits of trade, of cooperation and of security. The channel will not get any wider once we leave the European Union, and that is the relationship we should seek. That will be good for the United Kingdom and good for Scotland.
Angus Robertson.
The Prime Minister's successor is very, very well known in Scotland at the present time. It's across all the front pages because of the threat to deport the very much loved and liked Brain family from the Highlands. The first vote of her premiership is likely to be imposing Trident against the wishes of almost every single MP from Scotland. Meanwhile, she says she plans to plough on. With Brexit, regardless of the fact that Scotland voted to remain in the EU. How does the outgoing Prime Minister think that all of this will go down in Scotland?
Well, first of all, specifically on the Brain family, Mrs. Brain came to this country on a Tier 4 visa, on a student visa, to study for a Scottish history degree. She completed it, and her husband and her son came as dependents. We've given them an extension to the 1st of August to put in an application for a work visa in the normal way, and I very much hope that will happen. On Trident, there will be a vote in this House, and it's right this House should decide, and actually many people in Scotland support our nuclear deterrent, maintaining it, and the jobs that come in Scotland. He asks about the record of this government when it comes to Scotland. Well, I'll tell him what it is. 143,000 more people in work in Scotland. Massive investment in the renewable industries in Scotland. The 2 biggest warships ever built in our history, built in Scotland. A powerhouse parliament, a referendum that was legal, decisive and fair, and I might add, a Scotsman winning Wimbledon twice while I was Prime Minister. Never mind Indy 2, I think it's time for Andy 2.
Jane Churchill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like to thank the Prime Minister for the leadership he's shown, particularly in his support of women within the Conservative Party. The Prime Minister's legacy for me, however, and for fellow cancer survivors, is the personal support that he has shown for the Cancer Drug Fund. However, today I would like him to ask him to show that same support for those who've been affected by the contaminated blood. Would he please update the House as to whether they too will have a legacy?
Well, can I thank my honourable friend for what she says about the Cancer Drugs Fund. It has helped many families and many people in our country. She's absolutely right to raise this issue of contaminated blood. And I can today announce that we will be spending the extra £125 million we've identified in a much fairer and more comprehensive scheme. We'll guarantee that all those infected will for the first time receive a regular annual payment. This would include all those with hepatitis stage 1 who will now receive £3,500 per year, rising to £4,500 per year by the end of the Parliament. For those with hepatitis C at stage 2, HIV or co-infected with both, annual payments will increase over the lifetime of the Parliament and will enhance the support for those who've been bereaved or those who will be in future, significantly boosting the money for the discretionary payments. Last year I apologised to the victims on behalf of the British Government for something that should never have happened. Today I'm proud to provide them with the support that they deserve. And while it's not right to pick out two people, I think people should know that coming to constituency surgeries, making your point to your Member of Parliament, campaigning as these sufferers have done, in my case David Ledbetter and Matthew Davis, repeatedly coming to my surgery and saying this mustn't stand, more must be done. I know that not everyone will be fully satisfied with what's being done, but it does show our democracy working and compassion in replying to this terrible problem.
Jeff Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Prime Minister came to office promising to keep the UK's AAA rating, to end top-down NHS reorganisations and to stop his party banging on about Europe. How would you say that's gone?
Well, I think in terms of the economic record, 2.5 million more jobs, the deficit cut by 2/3, 2.9 million apprenticeships, 1 million more businesses, a growth rate that's been at the top of the developed world, all of that because of the choices that we made. And because we did that, we've been able to back our NHS with a 10% funding increase, over 10 billion in real terms in this Parliament. As for Europe, we have to settle these issues. And I think it's right, when you're trying to settle a really big constitutional issue, you don't just rely on Parliament, you ask the people as well. We made a promise and we kept a promise.
Steve Brine.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I'm very sorry this turns out to be my last question to the Prime Minister, but I want to thank him for everything he's done for my constituency, where every school is now good or outstanding, and the jobless total is down 64% since he took office. As he prepares to leave Downing Street, can I encourage him to return to the big society agenda that I know he's so passionate about? And can I ask him if he remembers saying shortly before becoming Prime Minister, politicians are a mixture of egotism and altruism, and you just hope the right one wins out so people do the right thing rather than the politically convenient thing. It seems to me that he's stayed on the right side of that divide in the last 6 years, not least in the manner of his departure, and I think this country is going to miss him a great deal.
Can I thank my friend for his very kind remarks. Now, I think when it comes to education, I think there's a very strong record to build on. We've got 1.4 million more children in good or outstanding schools than in 2010. We've seen the free schools movement really take off, with over 300 free schools open. I visited one yesterday that is outstanding. A quarter of them are outstanding, which is an amazing record when you think how little time they've had to get going. And so I think we should build on that record. As for the big society, yes, we should use a stronger economy to build a bigger and stronger society. And one of the things that we are doing is introducing National Citizen Service. 200,000 young people taking part in that programme. And I hope by the end of this Parliament it will be the norm for 16-year-olds to take part. We talk about the soft skills that are necessary to give people real-life chances. Well, many people don't get those chances, and National Citizen Service will help them.
Graham Stringer.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Can I thank the Prime Minister for the courteous way he's always answered questions I've managed to ask him. I've always listened carefully to his answers, but until I had 2 eye operations, I wasn't able to see him very clearly. Is he as concerned as I am about the newspaper reports that people who aren't entitled to NHS cataract operations are jumping the queue and stopping people who are entitled to NHS operations having that treatment?
Well, I will look very carefully. First of all, can I thank him for his kind remarks? I've tried to answer questions from this dispatch box. It's difficult sometimes when you haven't seen the specific story, and I haven't seen the story here. I recall from previous occasions that we are still investing in these cataract operations, and the number receiving them are going up. But I'll look carefully this afternoon at the question he asked about the danger of queue jumping and get back to him.
Wendy Morton.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Under the leadership of my right honourable friend, the Prime Minister, in my constituency of Aldridge Brownhills, unemployment has dropped from 5.1% in May 2010 to 1.9% in May this year. A record to be proud of, and one I would like to thank him for. Does my right honourable friend agree with me that this has only been possible thanks to his firm focus on jobs, apprenticeships and skills, the strong economy and investment?
Well, the figures are remarkable. When a constituency is getting to 1.9% in terms of unemployment, that is very, very close to full employment, and it's a remarkable record. What we've done with apprenticeships was 2.4 million in the last Parliament, an extra 500,000 already in this Parliament, towards the target of 3 million in this Parliament, which I'm confident if we work hard we can achieve it. And we should think, Mr. Speaker, these are not just numbers on a page. They're real people who have experience of the workplace, who are learning a trade and are taking their first steps in their career. And what I want is when they get that career, not only do we have the national living wage, but we also make sure that people don't start paying income tax until they're earning a good wage. And we've taken 4 million of the lowest paid people in our country out of income tax altogether. That is a record to be proud of.
Mr. Adrian Bailey.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This week is Black Country Week. Yesterday, Black Country manufacturers were in Parliament demonstrating the high-quality products that are exported